Right now, somewhere in your mind, you might be worried about something that hasn't happened yet. A conversation you haven't had. A result you haven't gotten. A mistake you haven't even made, but somehow your body already feels like it has. Your heart speeds up. Your stomach tightens. Your thoughts start running through every bad outcome, one after another, even though none of it is real yet. In this video, I'll show you exactly why your brain does this. Why it creates fear out of things that don't exist, and why this isn't a flaw in you. It's actually a very old system in your brain, doing exactly what it was built to do. And once you understand how it works, you can start to calm it down instead of being controlled by it. Let's get into it. First, let's clear something up. The fear you feel about the future isn't really about the future. It's about your brain trying to protect you from something it can't fully see yet. Your brain doesn't like uncertainty. It wants to know what's coming so it can prepare for it. But when the future is unclear, a new job, a hard conversation, a health test result, your brain doesn't just wait calmly for the answer. Instead, it starts to fill in the blanks. And it almost always fills them in with the worst possible outcome. This isn't bad luck. It isn't because you're weak or overly emotional. It's because your brain treats uncertainty the same way it treats danger. If your brain doesn't know what's going to happen, it assumes the safest thing to do is expect the worst, because being wrong about a bad outcome feels safer than being surprised by one. In other words, your brain isn't trying to scare you. It's trying to prepare you. It just does it in a very uncomfortable way. To understand why this happens, we need to talk about two parts of your brain. The first is the amygdala. This is a small structure deep in your brain, and its main job is to scan for danger. The amygdala doesn't know the difference between a real threat, like a car swerving toward you, and an imagined threat, like worrying about a presentation next week. To the amygdala, both situations can trigger the same fear response. When the amygdala senses possible danger, even imagined danger, it sends out an alarm. Your body responds by releasing stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate increases. Your muscles tense. Your thoughts speed up. This is the same response your ancestors needed when facing a real predator, but now it's being triggered by an email, a deadline, or a phone call you're nervous about. The second part of your brain involved here is the prefrontal cortex. This is the part responsible for logical thinking, planning, and calming yourself down. In a balanced brain, the prefrontal cortex can step in and say, "Wait, this isn't an emergency. Let's think this through calmly." But here's the problem. When anxiety becomes intense, the amygdala can actually override the prefrontal cortex. The alarm system gets so loud that the calm, logical part of your brain has a harder time being heard. This is why, in moments of high anxiety, you can know logically that everything is probably fine, but still feel completely panicked anyway. Your brain isn't broken in this moment. It's just following old wiring that worked well for physical danger, but doesn't work as well for modern worries like job interviews or social situations. Now here's something that might surprise you. Your brain doesn't randomly pick scary outcomes. It's actually following a pattern called threat simulation. Imagining bad outcomes in advance is your brain's way of trying to prepare you for them. If you mentally rehearse a failure, a rejection, or an embarrassing moment, some part of your brain believes that you'll be more ready for it if it actually happens. This is similar to how athletes mentally rehearse their performance before a big game. Except instead of rehearsing success, anxiety makes your brain rehearse failure, over and over, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days. There's also a deeper reason this happens so easily. Your brain has what's called a negativity bias. This means your brain naturally gives more attention and more weight to negative possibilities than positive ones. This bias developed because, throughout human history, missing a danger was far more costly than missing out on a reward. A person who ignored a possible threat might not survive. A person who ignored a possible opportunity simply missed out on something good. So your brain evolved to lean toward caution. It pays closer attention to what could go wrong because for most of human history that question kept people alive. The problem is, in modern life, this bias doesn't turn off just because the danger is now a text message instead of a wild animal. Your brain still leans toward imagining the worst, even when the stakes are completely different. Here's the part that makes anxiety about the future feel so overwhelming. Your body cannot tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. When you vividly imagine a stressful future event, failing a test, being judged, losing something important, your brain activates many of the same regions it would activate if that event were actually happening right now. Your nervous system responds as if the danger is real, even though nothing has actually occurred. This is why anxious thoughts don't feel like just thoughts. They feel urgent, physical, real. Your racing heart and tight chest aren't your imagination. They're a real stress response, triggered by something that hasn't even happened yet. Once you understand this, it becomes easier to separate the feeling of danger from actual danger. The feeling is real. The danger usually isn't, at least not yet, and very often not at all. So if your brain is wired to expect the worst, how do you work with it instead of constantly fighting it? 1. Name what's happening. When you notice anxious thoughts about the future, simply say to yourself, "This is my brain trying to prepare me for something uncertain." This small shift moves the experience from feeling like a personal flaw to recognizing it as a normal brain process. Naming it helps activate the calmer, more logical part of your brain. 2. Ask what's actually likely, not just what's possible. Your brain is great at imagining what could happen, but it's not very good at judging what's likely to happen. Ask yourself honestly, out of all the times I've worried about something like this before, how often did the worst-case outcome actually happen? For most people, the honest answer is rarely. 3. Bring your body back to the present moment. Since anxiety is partly a physical response, calming the body can calm the mind. Slow, deep breathing, especially long exhales, signals to your nervous system that there's no immediate danger. Even 60 seconds of slow breathing can quiet an overactive amygdala. 4. Limit mental rehearsal time. It's normal to think through a difficult situation once or twice to prepare. But anxious minds often replay the same scenario 50 times, expecting that one more round of worry will somehow make things safer. It won't. Give yourself a clear limit, a few minutes to think it through, then consciously redirect your attention elsewhere. 5. Separate preparation from prediction. There's a difference between asking, "What can I do to prepare?" and asking, "What's going to go wrong?" The first question is productive. The second one just fuels anxiety without giving you anything useful to act on. When you catch yourself spiraling, gently shift the question back to what you can actually do right now. None of these steps will make uncertainty disappear completely. Uncertainty is simply part of being human. But these tools can help quiet the alarm system enough that you can think clearly, instead of being pulled along by fear. Your anxious thoughts about the future aren't proof that something bad is coming. They're proof that your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do, trying to protect you from the unknown, even when the unknown probably isn't as dangerous as it feels. You're not overreacting. You're not broken. You're simply living with a brain that was built for a very different world than the one you're in now. If this video helped you understand your own mind a little better, subscribe, because next time we're going to look at why your brain keeps replaying old memories you'd rather forget, and what that says about how your mind actually works. I'll see you in the next one.